Well, good evening. Glad you could join us here on TV47 Weekend. My name is Musa Salah. We have a lot lined up for you, but first, the top stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, the COVID-19 pandemic stifles another Easter holiday as holiday makers keep away from the coastal beaches on Good Friday for the second year in a row. Also tonight, government bans importation of private COVID-19 vaccines, even as confusion lingers over the importation of the Russian Sputnik vaccine that has already been administered on thousands of Kenyans. Plus, only 6 parliamentarians and 20 members of the late Paul Koinange's family will be allowed to attend his burial tomorrow. And tonight, we tell you why a woman returned home in Murang'a after 17 years of disappearance, 2 failed marriages and 4 children. Right, welcome to the broadcast. Mini Mbesa is our sign language interpreter. TV47 Weekend begins right now. Persons living with a disability in Narok and Trans Nzoia counties today received Easter goodies, elevating their desperate situations that has been exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic. Our reporter Boniface Barasa filed the following report.
This is Eunice Mtiembu, a physically challenged woman, narrating the hurdles she goes through in the streets of Kitale town in order to fend for her family. According to Mtiembu, making ends meet has been a tall order for her since the outbreak of coronavirus.
Mapato imerudi chini sana wakati huu wa corona, sababu kama seme mfano kama mimi ni wa kukaa barabarani kuitisha msaada kutoka kwa watu. Sasa watu ni wachache, hata mtu anaogopa kukupa pesa sababu labda uta contact hiyo ugonjwa, vitu aina hiyo.
Other persons living with disability and with other underlying conditions are finding it hard to wear face masks to guard themselves from contracting the deadly coronavirus.
Wengine labda tuna ugonjwa ya pressure, kuvaa vitu kama hii mask, kupumua inakuwa shida, lakini inakulazimu tu uvae sababu unaogopa hiyo ugonjwa.
They couldn't have had it any better thanks to Easter holiday. Philanthropist Winnie Macharia gave them a financial boost to buy basic necessities for their families.
Siku hii niliamua nimrudishie Mungu yangu shukrani na 1,100, watu 20, kila mtu ngiri 5 kupitia hawa vipovu na walemavu kama zawadi ya Pasaka.
Wakati huu mkumu wa corona, watu wanapitia changamoto nyingi, na wewe umechinyima rasilimali zako kuona ya kwamba una invest kwa hii jamii ya walemavu.
Hata serikali haijatukumbuka sisi, serikali yetu ya kaunti. Leo Mwenyezi Mungu ameweza kumguza kwa njia ya kipekee, na si leo peke yake. Yeye utukumbuka hata wakati wa Krismasi.
In Narok County, the Narok Peace Association Director Joshua Lekaputa led a similar event in Narok Town where people living with disabilities received foodstuffs and face masks.
We all know that coronavirus has been a challenge all over the world. And I believe as much as coronavirus has affected the lives of people, we can also impact the lives of people. If you have something to share.
Tumekuja ku demonstrate the love of Christ to them, na tumekuja pia kuwapea chakula kile ambacho tunaweza kuwapea, because most of the time unakuta these people feel like they are left out in the society, but when we come up and encourage them, they feel well and they get the strength to move on.
The beneficiaries appreciated the support and asked both the national and county governments to consider their special needs during this period of the deadly pandemic.
Tunakuta kwamba corona ilipofika, shughuli zetu zote ikafungika na ikasimama. Na kwa hivyo katika jamii hii ya Narok Peace Association wamekuja wakatukumbuka. Tunasema kwamba wametenda jambo jema kutuona kama watu walemavu wanaoishi katika kaunti hii ya Narok.
Persons living with disability are highly unemployed and also face many forms of discrimination in the society. Boniface Barasa, TV47, Trans Nzoia County.
Now, the government has revoked the license of private distributors of the Russian-manufactured Sputnik vaccine. According to the Ministry of Health, a number of reasons have informed the move that has now placed the importation, distribution and administration of the COVID-19 vaccine solely in the hands of the government. Meanwhile, Kenya is infuriated following a move by the UK government, placing it on the red list due to a surge in COVID-19 infections. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
After giving the private sector the freedom to import and distribute COVID-19 vaccines in the country and even approving an emergency use license for the private distributors of the Russian Sputnik vaccine, the government has now taken a U-turn and revoked it. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says from now henceforth, the importation, distribution and administration of the vaccine remains solely in the hands of the government.
To ensure transparency and accountability in the vaccination exercise and to protect the integrity of the country, the government is effective today, closing the window of private sector importation, distribution, and administration of vaccines until such a time when it is confident that there is greater transparency and accountability in the entire process in the interest of public health safety.
According to CS Kagwe, a number of reasons have informed the move, including the lack of a proper storage for the vaccine and its administration outside health facilities.
The policy that we have adopted is that if a vaccine has not been cleared by the World Health Organization, it will not be used in Kenya, whether it is being used in other countries or not. So currently, the one that is the second window one that had been introduced in Kenya is cleared by PPB, but not yet cleared at the World Health Organization. That's one. The second thing is that we do not currently have an infrastructure to create sufficient transparency to ensure that we have got a stream of paid for vaccines and a stream of free vaccines. We cannot administratively ensure that the free vaccines are not at some point going to be converted into paid.
As the NAC met, we had information of people even getting vaccinated outside health facilities. And earlier in the week, you also saw advertisement of these vaccines. So the NAC considered all that, and in the interest of the safety of Kenyans, decided to adopt to stop this.
However, the government has assured Kenyans who had already received the first dose of the Sputnik vaccine that arrangements will be made to ensure they receive a second dose.
Those who took the Sputnik vaccine are assured of their second dose. You are going to work with the importer together with the Pharmacy and Poisons Board and the vaccination centers to ensure that those who have received the vaccine will get their second dose.
Meanwhile, Kenya is infuriated following a move by the UK government to place it on the red list due to a surge in COVID-19 infections.
The committee has taken notice of information that some countries wish to put us on the red list. NAC recommends that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs takes up the matters where necessary to find out the details of such listing of Kenya, and NAC recommends, where appropriate, we will have a reciprocal, where appropriate, a reciprocal arrangement will be adopted.
Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate has remained above 15% for nearly 2 weeks now. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Now, the beaches of Mombasa were fairly empty on a day when the opposite used to be the routine. The silence in the beaches is occasioned by the COVID-19 measures that have banned public gatherings and cessation of movement in 5 counties that are a major source of domestic tourists. Take a look.
These are the scenes welcoming you in many beaches in Mombasa County. Ordinarily, these beaches would be full of domestic and international tourists who throng the coast to celebrate Easter. We spotted only countable people on the beaches and a few others swimming in the ocean. This is the second time that the Easter holiday is passing silently along the coastline. The situation has been caused by the strict COVID-19 containment measures that have hit the tourism sector hard.
Sisi tunategemea hiyo beach. Sasa beach ashafungwa. Sasa sai kukaa tu. Hakuna kazi nyingine. Watoto nalisha hii, nyumba ya watu rent na lipa hii. Saa hii nyumba nafunga. Watoto hapati chochote. Hapo tuko na shida.
Ndio wageni wa Nairobi wakija kama huku ndio pia tunapata riziki. Biashara huwa ni nzuri kidogo. Lakini hata sasa hivi wageni wamefungiwa kule, hawezi kuja huku.
Beach hotels have reported huge losses following massive cancellations of bookings that had been made prior to cessation of movement in Nairobi, Nakuru, Kiambu, Machakos and Kajiado counties. The 5 counties, especially Nairobi, are a big source market for domestic tourists for the coast region.
We were well prepared for Easter, and most of hotels were already doing over 70-80%. You see, majority of people that were coming Easter were people coming from out of Mombasa, and a big number was from Nairobi. So immediately the announcement was done, we started getting cancellations.
Entertainment joints also continue to count losses as they remained closed as per the government directive. Elsewhere, churches witnessed low attendance of faithfuls as majority opted to stay indoors. According to church clergies, most congregants are cautious of COVID-19, while some are just scared by the mention of it.
Kama siku ya leo, nilikuwa natarajia nione Wakristo wengi na nimeona wachache karibu 30 tu. Kwa hivyo corona inaonekana watu wakiisikia wanaongopa.
Well, another profitless Easter for the coast region. Hoteliers and merrymakers will have to try again next year. That is, if the virus curve will have flattened. Mariam Wacharo, TV47, Mombasa County.
Now, many Christian faithfuls kept away from church halls on Good Friday in keeping with the COVID-19 prevention protocols. This even as some church leaders in the 5 zone counties faulted the government for banning gatherings.
Church across the country recorded a low turnout for Good Friday service, a clear indication that the COVID-19 containment measures were well in effect. However, some church leaders from different parts of the country expressed their dissatisfaction by the president's decision to ban worshippers from at least 5 of the most affected counties by the COVID-19 from attending church services.
Wengine wagonjwa hata si wagonjwa, lakini hofu wametiwa tu na wakashtuka. So kuna matumaini katika Mungu. Kwa hivyo sisi tunaomba kama watume kwamba tupewe nafasi tuweze kuomba na watu hawa na familia hizi na hata wale ambao wako affected. Tunatangazia kwamba hata ukiwa katika ICU, hata ukiwa katika mgonjwa, kuna Mungu ambaye anaponya.
Nakuru West Pastors Fellowship has called upon the president to review his decision of the indefinite ban on attendance in places of worship in the 5 counties zoned as disease infected. They want the government to focus more on areas prone to COVID-19 such as markets.
So tunakuomba rais wetu kwa ile hali ya ile unyenyekevu wetu kwamba utusikie. Watu waingie katika hali ya worship. Hata tukikaa watu 15 vile vilivyokuwako tuanze hivyo na baadaye tuone vile Mungu atafanya kwa sababu hii COVID-19 inaenda kiisha.
Low turnout was also witnessed in counties that are not affected by the president's directives. Those who attended the Good Friday strictly adhered to the COVID-19 protocols. Counties such as Nyeri, Embu, Meru and Kirinyaga, among others, observed the same law of no worshippers attending the Good Friday service, despite the counties not restricted from holding church services. The worshippers believe that the pandemic will end soon and business will resume normally.
We've ensured that we are keeping the social distance because our church is big enough. So we are just accommodating the one that, according to the protocols and the directive given by the government, we are sanitizing. Everybody is forever on mask.
On the other hand, many worshippers took the advantage of not attending church to look for means to fend for their families in keeping with the hard economic times occasioned by the pandemic. Daniel Masiza, TV47.
Well, thank you, Daniel Masiza, for that report. Now, the late Paul Koinange will be buried at his home in Kiambaa, Kiambu County tomorrow. The burial will be attended by close family members and friends following strict COVID-19 measures put in place. According to the burial committee, only 50 people are expected to attend the burial, with only 6 members of parliament, including the House leadership, while other people have been urged to follow the burial virtually from their homes.
Paul Mbiu Koinange was born in the year 1952, curtains falling on his life on 31st March 2021 at the age of 69 years. His final journey is tomorrow at his home in Kiambaa, Kiambu County. The ad hoc committee in charge of burial saying only 50 people will be allowed to attend the burial, with only 6 members of parliament allowed in adherence to COVID-19 strict guidelines.
Also, the numbers as given as 50 number, which we shall adhere to. We have spoken to members of parliament, and I'm speaking to you now, and I urge you, both Senate and National Assembly. I know you have asked whether you want to come or we will allow you to come, but we ask, please follow it. Unless your name is in the list of only 6 members of parliament, starting with our Speaker of National Assembly and the Leader of Majority, and maybe 4 others. The rest of us, let us watch from the comfort of our home.
It won't be different to the family either. The family spokesman Karuga Koinange says only 20 people from the larger family of Koinange will attend the burial.
Family alone is more than 3,000 people, people with the government, with the blood of Senior Chief Koinange. So to squeeze from 3,000 and get only 20 people to come to the tent, it can be a very big problem.
The residents of Kiambaa have been urged to stay at home despite their love and attachment to the late Member of Parliament.
That we all stick to it. And those are the 2 reasons why we would stick to this. So we want to urge our people, particularly people from Kiambaa, not even to bother to come near this compound. It will be pointless for us to stress our security beyond any means. I think it will be more comfortable watching through all the other channels, the TV channels, the Facebook, all of those, rather than come here.
Members of Parliament recounted their moments with the late Paul Koinange.
With the Honorable Koinange as the whip in the National Assembly. Whenever I could raise my phone to call on him to come and support a bill beyond a bill concerning security, he was at ease. He is one man whom you could call and is in the constituency, and he tells you, Mheshimiwa, I'll be there in the next 1 hour. And indeed, he would make it that he comes to support the agenda of the government on the floor. I've really missed a friend, and I'll continue missing a friend in the name of Honorable Paul Koinange.
With him, though it was short, but I've worked with him. One thing he taught me is how to be humble and how to respect your boss. Because with his age, he never saw me as Fatuma Gedi, a young girl. He saw me as his daughter. And you know, he allowed me to help him, or allowed me to work and actually do most of his work.
They say a good name is better than bags of gold. Fare thee well, Paul Koinange. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Nairobi.
Well, it's time to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections.
As the salvos enter a too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5 years term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power.
Kikuyus will vote
for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
As we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my years.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind. Every Monday. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend. Now, a family in Kiharu, Muranga County is still in disbelief after their kin who disappeared in 2004, soon after completing her KCPE examinations, returned home, ending 17 years of uncertainty for the family over the whereabouts of their daughter. Since her reunion with her family, Milka Mudone's family home in Kaga has been flocking with neighbors and villagers to witness firsthand the pleasant Easter surprise. David Mudoka narrates.
You would mistake it for the biblical return of the prodigal son, only that this time it was the return of her daughter to her family that, fearing the worst, had given up on ever finding their kin alive. She does not strike as a daughter now. 17 years of disappearance have seen Milka Mudone transform from the naive village girl straight out of primary school, thrilled by the idea of city life at the time of her disappearance, to a mother of 4.
Nilitoka hapa 2004 nikiwa mdogo, nikiwa na miaka 18, kuwa msichana.
To Mudone, throughout the 17 years period, she has seen it all, borne it all. It was a journey characterized by more downs than ups that eventually led to her return home in Kaga, Kiharu, Muranga County.
Nilikuwa niende alafu niweze kupata pesa nirudi.
Gutted on realizing that city life was not what she envisioned to be like, Mudone's way out was to tie the knot with her first husband. The young family relocated to Narok, but things will go south soon after. The 2007-2008 post-election skirmishes struck, forcing the couple and their 2 children to return to Nairobi.
Vile tulikosana, kaenda nikajikaisha upande wa Nyeri. Na vile nilijikaisha, nikaona tena maisha ni magumu. Nikapata bwana mwingine na akanioa.
Her marriage with her second husband was also short-lived when he was arrested just 2 years into their union. Unwanted at her matrimonial home, she saw their house brought down to ashes, and for a second time in the company of the 2 children from her second marriage, returned to the streets.
Sasa tena kukaka, nikapata mashida ingine, ile nyumba tulikuwa naye ikachomeka. Kuchomeka sasa naye tena ikakuwa tena nikarudi chini tena.
The mounting pressure from the two children who are now of age since the start of the year, who wanted to travel up country to see their grandparents, will be the last straw to break the camel's back. She did not know how she will be welcomed. She could not even remember correctly where their home was, but her mind was made up.
Nilikuta kumejengwa, hakukuwa na lami wakati huo, nikakuta kuna lami, nikakuta kumekuwa. Sasa hati sikuwa najua mahali niko.
Contrary to her expectations, it has been song and dance since her return. She cannot wait to open a new chapter in her life.
Kuna wengine sio mimi tu peke yangu nimepotea. Kuna wengi wamepotea. Na saa zingine mtu alienda akapatana na mabaya. Kuna wengine walienda sasa wakakosa pesa. Kuna wengine walienda wakakosa vibarua. Wazazi naweza kuwaeleza msilaumu hao watoto.
To her family, their prayers have been answered after years of searching for their daughter in vain.
Hata sikuwa nikimjua. Chenye niliangalia meno. Juu sikumwacha akiwa na kitambaa. Alafu sikumwacha akiwa na nini? Na goggles.
Apikiwa simu gaambio Mudone anakuja kwa nyumba. Kakibia haraka halafu gamuona tukasanga huyu ni Mudone.
Although she never got the opportunity to bid her father and brother farewell, who passed away when she was away, all is not lost. To her east or west, home is always best. David Mudhoka, TV47.
An Easter surprise indeed. Well done, David Mudhoka. Now, technology in this century has come to help and save humanity in so many ways. For example, did you ever think that technology through the use of camera phones would ever help in fighting poaching? Well, in these uncertain times with the COVID-19 pandemic at its peak across the globe, technology has come to the rescue through the creation of virtual rangers. Here is Ruth Mulandi with that story from Balule Nature Reserve.
The animals that roam South Africa's Balule Nature Reserve have a new ally in the battle to keep them safe from poachers, and that is camera phones mounted in protective cases to stream images of the animals' activities to thousands of virtual rangers worldwide. The reserves across Africa cutting back on anti-poaching patrols amid a coronavirus-induced tourism pause that has hit funding. Balule has teamed up with handset manufacturers Samsung and tech pioneer Africam to supplement staff members with eyes and ears online. And now over 55,000 people have become virtual rangers since the conception of the project. Wildlife Watch went live in March. Located in Limpopo province and home to the big five of rhino, lion, leopard, elephant and buffalo, Balule forms part of South Africa's flagship Kruger National Park. Today, Leightam Kabele and her colleague, who form part of the park's all-female anti-poaching unit known as Black Mambas, are on duty and tell us how technology is helping them keep poachers at bay.
We are dealing with poachers that are professional people. They've been to the army, they know how to use weapons, and we know nothing about it. And people who can walk long distance, come inside the reserve, kill a rhino in 5 minutes, they're out. So this is a big change to us, but it's a change that we want to bring out to people.
Mkabela and her colleagues use the same model of phone for communication to capture images of suspicious activity during patrols, while other handsets have been installed to monitor perimeter fences. Although the project, just like many, has its flaws.
It can only be effective if they can use their senses, because that's, we don't arm them. We rely on their eyes and their ears and their various other senses. Fortunately, the human being hasn't evolved to be able to see at night and to see things quickly and this kind of thing, and it's what I call human bias. So you'll walk past something that you might not have noticed. I can only cover certain sections of the park at certain times of the day or night. I need technology to fill the gaps.
A Swiss-based environmental network, International Union for Conservation of Nature, said anti-poaching patrols have been cut in more than half of Africa's protected sites due to the impact of the pandemic, where 1 in 5 rangers has been laid off globally since the pandemic began. Meanwhile, job losses and increased poverty has driven a growth in the hunting for bushmeat, putting these animals in the wild at risk. But Bulale, for one, is striking back. Viewers of the park's streaming service have already reported hearing gunshots signaling the possibility of poachers and alerted rangers to trapped animals needing rescue. Ruth Mulandi, TV47.
Thank you, Ruth Mulandi, for that report. It's time to take another short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Remember, you can follow this live broadcast on www.tv47.co.ke.
TV47, the home of Untold. As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections.
As the salvos enter too familiar territory.
William Ruto will serve his 5-year term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power. Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
that part so that I don't
as we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my youth.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with the desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic,
reduce the cost,
We spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. Has come to life. Watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend. Now, even as the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority KCAA registers, issues approvals and authorizes drone operations in Kenya, it is a lucrative business for Tony Mwangi, who has specialized in guiding the drones amid the pandemic. Take a look.
Ever thought of owning a drone or being a pilot of one? Well, 4 years ago, this question lingered in one Tony Mwangi's mind, but in the context of a drone instructor. With South Africa being known for the best flight schools, Mwangi headed south to retrain as a drone pilot instructor. At the time, little was known about unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, popularly known as drones. True to his vision, drones became so popular that Parliament legalized the Unmanned Aircraft Systems Regulations 2020, which came into effect in March 2021.
When it comes to tech, Kenya is quite advanced, and one of the things that I wanted to do is actually come to Kenya and train people how to fly drones. This is because, of course, some people outside training in this country, but I wanted it to be professional, where people actually fly safely and be professional, in that, of course, when you're a professional pilot, then it will be easy for you to get a job.
Locally, drones are limitedly used following security and safety concerns by authorities. In an effort to control their use, the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, or KCAA, charges for owning and operating one. Under the new rules, an importation fee of 3,000 shillings applies, KCAA registration fee of 3,000, remote operator certificate annual fee of 80,000, whose renewal is 50,000 shillings, an airworthiness certificate of 5,000 shillings, and between 2,000 and 5,000 shillings for certifications such as beyond visual line of sight and radio telephone exam.
For most drone pilots, I advise the unlicensed ones to get their licenses, because it helps with in terms of the law. You know, at least you learn the regulations, then you know where to fly, where not to fly, how to be, because for us safety comes first. Not just for the pilot, but the people around the pilot. So even the cars, properties and stuff. So one of our challenge is like really getting to know the regulations and where the line is blurry.
Despite the prevalent COVID-19 pandemic, Mwangi was ready. He opened his academy, Drone Space, in December 2020, one of just 3 in the entire country.
We opened our doors on December 7th. And of course, that was during COVID. We were so surprised because the moment we said that we are opening, and boom, we had 7 people booking.
A Drone Space 2-week course costs at least 160,000 shillings. That includes the fee of a remote pilot's license aimed at pilots willing to invest seriously in drones. The cost is worth it for Eric Mombaji, a Drone Space student and an IT guru.
I'm looking at the potential of doing mapping, like surveying, inspections and so on, and even with what Drone Space is doing, who knows, there could be an opportunity to teach others how to do this.
Most of the students who joined us in the first cohort are students who are actually in the drone field, people who use drones to do filming, to do mapping. We actually got a few captains from Kenya Airways who actually wanted to come, who actually came so that they could add a skill. And they never knew the future of the airline business. And of course, we know world over, so many pilots have been retrenched. And to them, they actually felt that it was only a matter of time. So before they get retrenched, let's get a certain skill.
In an era where privacy of persons and property is central, drone regulations have made provisions that ensure that such discretion is respected, as provided for in the Constitution and other national laws. Additionally, KCAA will be undertaking public awareness on the application and implementation of the regulations. Grace Josephine, TV47.
Now a family in Murubara village in Gurubani area in Mwea sub-county is in search for their 8-year-old daughter Triza Nyakio, who went missing about 2 weeks ago. According to her mother Evangeline Mudone, Nyakio disappeared after she was allegedly punished by their neighbor following claims that she eased herself and took a long call in the alleged neighbor's bananas that were on sale. Area residents have asked the local authorities to help in the search for Nyakio. The matter has since been reported at Wangwaru Police Station.
Huyo mama mwenye DC alikuja akamwambia huyu mama mwenye mtoto ati mtoto yake amepupu kwa madisi. Haya na akachapa mtoto. Na akakuja akamwambia huyu mama naye akaenda. Sijui waliendaje mtoto, sijui alichukua hatua gani mtoto. Saa 12 ndio mtoto alipotea. Na mtoto alikuwa anapigwa sijui saa 9 hivyo hapo hivyo ndiye alipigwa.
Hana ushuhuda ya kwamba huyu mtoto ndiye alifanya ile kitendo. Lakini kuchukua yule mtoto kumchapa na baadaye kumwachili na hata huyu mtoto haonekani mahali aliko ni jambo linatuudhi sana, ni jambo linatufanya tusikie ya kwamba hata mioyo yetu haiko mahali pale inahitajika. Sababu ni jambo ambalo linaghadhabisha sana, ni jambo la aibu sana kuona huyu mama pamoja na familia yake hawezi wakafanya kazi nyingine sababu kila saa wanafikiria mambo ya huyu mtoto.
Na mimi nimeripoti mtoto amepotea kwa polisi, Wanguru Police Station. Na polisi wakaniambia nifanye kazi yangu na wao waendelee na kazi yao. Nitafuta mtoto na wao pia watanisaidia kutafuta mtoto. Sasa mpaka wakati huo tarehe 19 mimi sijapata mtoto. Na hiyo mtoto yani nimemtafuta kila mahali, nimemtafuta kila pahali kwa mito, kwa kila pahali ambapo naweza fikiria mtoto wangu wako mimi nimemtafuta lakini sijampata. Sasa nauliza mtu yoyote kama uko na mtoto wangu tafadhali naomba unirudishie mtoto.
Sad indeed. Now, the Central Bank of Kenya has announced the resumption of charges for transactions above 100 shillings effected through banks' mobile money wallets that are closely linked to the savings and credit society sector. The CBK says the resumption of the charges will be subject to review by CBK against the pricing principles announced on December the 17th last year of customer centricity, transparency and disclosure, fairness and equity, choice, competition and affordability. These principles were introduced on the expiry of the emergency measures waiving charges for low-value mobile money person-to-person transactions below 1,000 shillings. Other measures on the waiver of charges between mobile money wallets and bank accounts remain in force. Now, the chairman of the Kenyan National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Nyeri County Chapter, Ibrahim Ndegwa, has raised concerns over the imminent collapse of some businesses in the county due to losses emanating from the partial lockdown of Nairobi, Kiambu, Machakos, Kajiado, and Nakuru counties. Accompanied by other businesses, stakeholders in the county, Ndegwa noted that the transport and hospitality industries are the most affected.
There is a lot of possibility that some of the business can be closed, and especially the businesses that deal with a lot of mini workers, because these people cannot meet because of the slowdown activities, economic activities. They will eventually affect the bottom line of these businesses. So some of these businesses might not remain open, and we'll feel this effect in short term and middle term measures. We in Nyeri town, as much as we are affected, are very optimistic. We are optimistic that things will start looking up, and maybe our economy will turn around. We must say at this particular time, when there are particular measures that the national and the county government is taking to control the issue of COVID spread, controlling their workforce.
Our observation as to matters business is that we have very depressed market. We are not enjoying as we have had earlier. And I'm sure this is coming out of the COVID. When the few counties have been closed, they are our main source markets. Nairobi, Nakuru are our main source market when it comes to Easter, people visiting their loved ones, and we are really feeling the lockdown. This is not only about during this time of Easter, but since the lockdown was placed in Nairobi, we started feeling the pinch of business here in Nyeri. And as you can see, today is, right now we are talking, it's around 1. We are during the Easter, the Good Friday, and business is really very low. But a situation like this one happened in America some time back, and it was only survival for the fittest. This is where we are in now. And we are trying to replicate what is being done elsewhere technologically, selling things on to the river at people's homes. This is the new method of doing business, and we are in it already.
Well, it's time to take a look at what is happening in the world of sports, and our sportsman Dennis Otieno is on standby on the other side of the studio. Good evening, Dennis. What do you have for us this evening?